Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm yet again joined by Toby, and today we're going to be going through our Premier League team of the season so far. But there is going to be one twist. You can only select one player from each team. So for example, if from Man City you decide you want to include Erling Haaland, you can then no longer select any other Man City player in the team of the season so far. And so me and Toby have got our own individual teams, and we're going through them position by position with the manager of the season as well, and including a 9-person bench. Toby, how have you found it? Because I'll be honest, I found it really difficult, mate.
Yeah, there are a few troublesome positions, I would say. I think overall it was fairly, easy to pick to sort of get that base of the team, and then when you've got a few positions left over and only a few teams left over, I think that's where it can get a little bit tricky and a few contentious names. And I definitely try to maybe fit in a few rogue names, maybe throw you off so we're not always matching, and yeah, maybe a few players in there who have gone a little bit under the radar this season who I think just deserved a shout out. So yeah, I'm very excited to hear yours. How did you find it?
Yeah, mate, I found it so difficult. I think there are a lot of players who have had exceptional seasons so far, but all in the same position. So there are some positions where there's so many options and it's difficult to pick just one. But then also you got to think about, well, their teammates actually are doing all right as well. So maybe I could drop the player, include them, but then you feel bad not including that player based on their merits. Yeah, it was really tough. I've come to an 11, which in the end, I feel like I'm quite comfortable with and putting it forward. I do have to say there was a lap in this decision because I just decided there was one particular player which I hadn't included in my 11, and I just thought this player is too good. I cannot include them. I had to include them, which then meant I had to change a couple other players around. But I've got there in the end, and we're going to go through it one by one. Let us know in the comments below what you think your team would be, because it's not an easy task to do. But Chobi, I'm going to throw it to you first, mate. Do you want to start us off with the goalkeeper?
Yeah, let's dive straight in, mate. And
Let's do
in
it.
goal, I have used my position from Newcastle to pick Nick Pope. I think he's had a bit of a resurgence at the start of this year. I think he'd had a little bit of drop off, and I think Newcastle's defence as well, especially last season, I think were not as strong as we were really used to. 2 seasons ago, when they got that top four, they were one of the best defences in the league. Last season, didn't see it feel so much. Whereas now this season, only 11 goals conceded, which gets them the third best defence in the league. And I think a big part of that is Nick Pope. He's looked a lot more confident. He looked better on the ball, I think, as well this season. I think that's definitely something he's been working on. And as we expect from him, shot stopping wise, he's been exceptional. Just to run through some stats, he's on a 79% save percentage, which is third best in the league. He has 42 saves in the league, which puts him third, and his post-shot expected goals, plus or minus, so the amount of goals that he should be letting in, he's letting in 3.7 less than he should, which is joint first in the league. So he is up and around there for almost every goalkeeping stat in the league. So for me, he had to be my number one in between the sticks.
And I'm not surprised you went for Nick Pope, because I also went for Nick Pope in goal.
Nice,
So
nice.
yeah, immediately we've already agreed. But I think it's a testament to him and how well he's done this season. There was a period of time last season when Newcastle were missing him, obviously, and they weren't doing as well. But I think Nick Pope is such a stalwart in that Newcastle side and that defense. I think not only in the stats, but I think his presence in goal. He's 6'6" tall. He's an experienced Premier League goalkeeper, and he can command that back line as well. England international, not to be forgotten as well. So I think it's one where he brings an air of calmness to that Newcastle back line, which at the moment is interchanging a little bit. Who's playing at fullback? Who's playing at centre back with issues with injuries to like Sven Botman? It's a bit in and out. Dan Burn left centre back, then left back. Kieran Trippier in at right back, then Livermenta, now Lewis Hall at left back. So there's constant change, but the ever present is Nick Pope. Played every single minute so far, and I think it's a testament to how well he's played so far this season, to the fact that we both included him. So while it's a little bit boring in terms of content, but let's not take away credit from the fact that Nick Pope so far has had a phenomenal start to the season. So that's our Newcastle player off the board already. And you know what? I don't think too many people could probably disagree. A couple of maybe honourable shout outs, maybe. I'm trying to think who else I was thinking of. I think like Robert
Lewis Hall.
Sanchez.
Lewis Hall was in and around my squad for Newcastle.
Yes, Lewis Hall was up there as well. I think I don't think there were too many others from Newcastle. I think some of the midfielders were for me. I think I was looking at it. I think maybe Bruno Guimaraes, Joe Linton, but I didn't feel like quite done enough. I think they have had better moments or starts to the season before, and I did think they maybe could have done a little bit better. Alexander Isak hasn't quite hit the ground running just yet. I think in terms of goalkeepers, I think maybe Onana was potentially in with a shout. I think, compared to his start to last season compared to this one, it's chalk and cheese. He's done much better. I think Liverpool, Alisson's been out injured. David Raya actually deserved a very honourable mention. I mean, his save so far this season, arguably made save of the season so far, with the Ollie Watkins diving header against Arsenal. So I think there were a couple of goalkeeping mentions we should probably state there as well. Did you have any others, or was that it?
Yeah, I think Onana was the main one for me. He is really high up in terms of those stats as well, but I have got another Man United player who is going to be coming up very shortly as to why I didn't go for Onana in the end.
Yes, leave that little tease. Should we go into it then? Because I'm assuming that Man United players are going to be at right back.
Indeed, it is. It is Mazraoui I've gone for from Man United, the new signing this season, and yeah, 15 million I think is an absolute bargain. And I think if you would have said that Man United would be picking up for that cheap when Bayern signed him from Ajax, we would have been thinking, how has that happened? Because I don't know why. It just didn't really hit the ground running at Bayern. They didn't really value him too highly, but an exceptional player. And I think he's completely carried on that form that we saw from Ajax. He looks really, really good, really versatile, has played a number of positions. And in the Man United defence is certainly a point that hasn't been a weakness of theirs this season. I think they're fourth in the league for goals conceded, and he has been a big part of that, playing right back or left back at times as well. And individually, 49 tackles plus interceptions in the Prem, which puts him 7th amongst all players. And that's including defensive midfielders, where we expect those numbers to be significantly higher. And compared to fullbacks across Europe's top 5 leagues, he is in the top 1% for tackles. So, yeah, very, very good defensively. And haven't quite got the stats for it going forward, but he looks very, very good going forward too. So, a good all-round pick for my right back I've gone for there. How about yourself, Mev? Who have you got at right back?
So there were a couple of options I wanted to go for. So obviously, one player who I think has done really well this season, very underrated defensively, is Trent Alexander-Arnold. He gets a lot of critics for his defensive work, but I think actually he's been really phenomenal this season. He's part of that Liverpool defense which kept the most clean sheets this season, and part of the Liverpool defense which conceded the least amount of goals with 6. I also wanted to go for Ola Aina at Nottingham Forest. I think someone who's really, got released from the Chelsea Academy, went away to Europe, got Nottingham Forest, I think, signed on a free from Torino, did really, really well last season, and now is having an exceptional time in Nottingham Forest with the second best defence in the league. But in the end, I kind of wanted both of those players from those respective clubs to be other players who I think deserved even more plaudits than Olena, but credit to both of them. So I actually agree with you. I have gone from Mazraoui as well of Manchester United, keeping it very boring. And you talked about the defensive stats. I've actually got the attacking stats for you, so that's okay. Because I looked at him as someone who was, can he maybe usurp Diego Dalot, who hasn't had the best season so far? And I think he's done exactly that. Defensively, very solid, like you said. But going forward, he does have a keen eye for a pass. He's got a 94% pass completion. And he's not only being safe, he's being progressive with them as well, with 5.48 progressive passes per 90. And I think it's someone who, like you said, with the price tag come in, done very underrated job with his passing. But then he's also got the ability to take on a man, go down to the byline and put in a decent cross. And I think, he's everything that you want in the modern day fullback. And I wouldn't rule him out of playing right wing back in Ruben Amorim's new system at Man United either. So there we go. We agree on goalkeeper and right back so far. Should we go to the other side? Should we go to left back? And hopefully we don't agree on this one.
Yeah, just completely contradicting what I said at the start in some rogue picks to try and not be exactly the same, Mev. But left back, this could be a bit of a rogue one. I've gone for the left back from the worst defence in the league, who are currently sitting in 19th, and that is Wolves. I have gone for Ryan Ait-Nouri at left back. Defensively, yeah, he's not the best. He basically plays as an extremely attacking wing back. But going forward, his stats have been too good to ignore for me this season. 3 goals and 2 assists from wing-back is a really, really good return, is one of the brightest sparks in a Wolves side who have played very well at times but have really struggled to get results. And the last few weeks, it seems to be turning a little bit, and I think part of that is down to Ryan Ait-Nouri. Versus fullbacks in Europe, he's in the top 1% for take-ons, the top 3% for goals, and the top 3% for shot-creating actions. So one of the best goal-scoring fullbacks in Europe and one of the most creative as well. Really, really good season. And yeah, I think they'll need him to keep this form up if they want to turn those results around. Who have you gone for at left-back, Mev?
So I have not gone for someone with a really poor defensive record as a team, not individually, just because of the fact that, it is the defense. So I've gone for a player from a team with a decent defensive record so far this season, and that is Luca Dean and Aston Villa. Someone at 31 years of age where you probably look at it and you go, do you know what? Maybe we can upgrade, maybe we can get someone better in this position. And I think that's what Aston Villa tried to do in the summer by signing Ian Maatsen for 37.5 million from Chelsea. However, Maatsen hasn't quite found his way into the Aston Villa side because Luca Dean, so far, in my opinion, has been exceptional. And there's even talk about Maatsen playing further up the field because that's how good Luca Dean has been so far this season. I think going forward, he's one of those players who very underrated. I think he's got an excellent delivery into the box. He's not kind of like a runner with the ball. He's not going to try and beat a man and go to the byline and put it across. And he's going to try and find a little bit of space in using his winger to try and get maneuver himself around the pitch, get a little bit of space, put a ball into the box, and when he does, he's absolutely phenomenal. 2 assists so far this season, 18 shot creating actions. I think defensively as well, he's very underrated. He's someone who's maybe you look at maybe more attackingly, but defensively he's very solid. And if he wasn't a good defender, he wouldn't be trusted in his Unai Emery team. Him alongside the other Aston Villa defenders, I think, have had a good season defensively. They've conceded 17 goals, but that is from an XG against of expected goals against of 13.3. So they have been a little bit unlucky with a couple of lucky strikes, some individual errors from Emi Martinez and some of the other defenders. But look at Dean so far this season, 0 errors leading to a shot or a goal. And for me, someone who we maybe look at him and just go, oh, he's maybe not the modern day fullback. But I think really, like I said, with Ian Maatsen coming in, someone you think you can upgrade, but someone, who's still absolute quality. We've talked about Alex Moreno doing really well in Nottingham Forest in one of the previous podcasts. Well, he wasn't quite good enough to get into the Aston Villa side because Luca Dean was doing such an amazing job. And for me, he has to go in the left back, and I'm glad that we finally disagree on a player.
Yeah, left back was definitely a position I think I struggled with the most. I was considering Digne in there, but I think statistically he wasn't looking too strong, maybe in comparison to spells that he has had in previous seasons. And yeah, like I said, for me it was really only Digne, Ait-Nouri and Lewis Hall really in contention for that left back spot. I think we had the same last season where I think Udogie was sort of that standout player at left back. Hasn't quite had a good start to the season this year, and yeah, besides Udogie, even last year it was a difficult position, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I do look at like individual players and individual qualities, and I think there may be better left backs in the league than Luca Digne. But I just think in terms of I don't know, in terms of season so far in the first 11 games, there's maybe like the shouts of Anthony Robinson, but I don't think Fulham have been great defensively so far this season. And I don't necessarily put that at his fault, but I think that's a team. And I think when you think about defenders, I think, you've got to think about what they do as a team defensively as well. You've got to take that into account. I think Liverpool have been in and out with Robertson and Simicast. I do have to say one player we did mention, Josko Gvardiol. I think he has been good so far this season. I know very recently there has been things about he, especially with away in international, because I think he's away with Croatia versus Scotland, and I think there was things about like Ben Doak running at him, and yeah, I mean you can take any game into isolation, and I think that's because that happened recently. Maybe that's going to be in a lot of people's minds as they watch this video when it goes out. But I think Gvardiol is still one of the best defenders in the league, and I just think that I wanted my Man City player to be someone else, so that's why I haven't quite gone for him. So that's why I went for Luca Dean in the end. Should we move on to centre backs? Surely there's got to be one which we both agree on, and maybe one we disagree on. Is there who are one of your centre backs? Give me the one you were most certain about.
Oh no, I was going to ask you. Give me the one that you think that we agree on.
The one that we agree on. I
Yeah.
think we've gone for Nottingham Forest. Nikola Milenkovic is the one we agree on.
Well, I agree with you on the club, but I've gone for his partner back there. I've gone for Murillo.
Okay, fair enough. Why have you gone for Murillo?
Oh, I just love Murillo. I think he is so good. I still think he's so underrated as well. Such a good buy from Corinthians, and I remember when we were talking about him previously last season, and the Corinthians fans were saying, you have got a real player there, and that's from a club with such a rich history of players moving over into Europe. He did it all of last season, was for me Nottingham Forest probably one of their best players last season, and this season has carried on. As you said, second best defence in the league. And with Murillo as well, he's got such exceptional stats on the ball. He's a really good carrier. He's in the top 4% of Europeans' top 5 leagues for take-ons versus other centre-backs. So for me, really well-rounded. And I think the presence that he brings, despite his stature, he's not the tallest. I think he's only 6 foot, maybe even 5'11". Really, really good player, and just, yeah, absolutely love him. Want Arsenal to buy him in the future. So good.
Well, hang on. Let's break that down a little bit. If Arsenal were to sign him, where would they play him? Would they play him ahead of Gabriel?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, ahead of Saliba and Gabriel, that's a tough one. Maybe if Saliba moves to Madrid, as the rumour mill is saying at the moment, Murillo could be that replacement.
Oh, well, Madrid do have a couple of injuries at the moment. So they're being linked to absolutely everyone. And everyone's like, oh, well, it'd be an honour. It'd be an honour. I'm like, guys, most of you are not going to be playing for Real Madrid. But that's fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I really like Murillo as well. But for me, I wanted it to be Milenkovic from my Nottingham Forest pick, just because I've heard people say, players who have a good season, and they talk about centre backs, and they go, oh yeah, Milenkovic on the right. And then they moved on. And I've gone, no, let's delve into liberty, but let's give him the credit he deserves. Because he's a player who not a lot of people have spent a lot of time watching, and I'll be honest, and neither have I. I've watched a little bit of him previously to him joining Nottingham Forest, but I think, now that he is in the English Premier League and I'm watching him week in, week out, I'm going, he's an exceptional defender. £12 million from Fiorentina, an absolute bargain. I don't know how they managed to get him. But yeah, someone who partners Murillo, I think, absolutely perfectly, is someone that, together as a centre-back partnership, it's allowed Nuno Espirito Santo to move from a back three to a back four because he trusts both those centre-backs. Someone who is very aerially dominant, someone who's got 4.17 aerial duels, 1 per 90, which is in the 99th percentile, so in the top 1% of defenders in Europe's top 5 leagues. But not only that, he's great in the opponent's attacking box because he's such a near presence as well. Ended up creating 1 assist so far this season, and he's an absolute monster in the box. And for me, I think just Milenkovic just has to be in there because I don't think anyone expected him to be as transformative as a signing as he was. I know Murillo maybe had a similar effect last season, but I think it wasn't. He was the first step, and I think Milenkovic is the second step. So you could probably go either or, if I'm being honest, actually, now I think about it. But I wanted a right-sided defender because my other one is going to be a left-sided defender in my team. But who's your other defender to partner Murillo?
Yeah, I've gone for another left-sided centre-back in Gabriel. Fair to say he's probably the best aerial threat in Europe. I mean, top 10% versus other centre-backs in Europe for XG, for goals and for shots. You see the way he's being marked at corners when he's playing at the moment, where it's almost 2 men trying to stop his run into the box, and he's still getting chances as part of that Arsenal set-piece revolution that we've seen over the last few years. 2 goals this season. Has been Arsenal's only really consistent player in that back four that's played basically every game, given injuries and suspensions to almost every other Arsenal defender, to get them to the 4th best defence in the league, which is probably disappointing for Arsenal given how strong defensively they were last year. And for me, yeah, Gabriel has been Arsenal's probably best player so far this season. Not too many other standout performers, and a few players dropped off a little bit compared to last season, but I think Gabriel has really kept that level and is still one of the best centre-backs in the league for sure.
Yeah, well, mate, I absolutely agree with you as well, as I've gone for Gabriel at the back. So I've gone for Milenkovic on the right-hand side and Gabriel on the left. I think I completely agree on everything you said. I mean, 2 goals so far this season, one in North London derby against Spurs away, and the other one against Manchester City away. 2 massive goals, and especially with William Saliba being suspended for that last man challenge on Evan Nilsson in the Bournemouth game, I think he did step up even more so than he has done so far this season. I did think that it showed that he was, he's not necessarily the B side to Saliba's A side. I think you made great argument so far this season that they're both the A side, and you got 2 world-class defenders there, and like you said, he's been linked with the likes of Real Madrid, so I mean, high compliments, but he thoroughly deserves it because he's been exceptional for a little while now, and I think he's going a little bit under the radar. Any other centre-backs that is worth considering? For me, I had Ibrahima Konate and Virgil van Dijk, obviously the 2 centre-backs of the best defence in the league so far. Konate, I think, very underrated because that's perceived to be the weaker side of Liverpool's defence. Did you have any other shouts?
Yeah, no, Konate was one for me who I think I actually had him in my first draft pick because, like you said, I think he has been really good over the last few years, but has sort of been in and out of squads when Matip's been playing and he's had a few injuries. Whereas this season, I think, is the first season where he's really started and looked like world class, I would say. I think in the Arsenal game, there were moments as an Arsenal fan I was watching and just thinking I didn't realise actually how good Konate was. Yeah, he was so close to being in the team for me.
Yeah, well, he was in a version of the team that I had. So yeah, absolutely him. I'm just trying to think. Is there anyone else? I don't want to not give someone credit because if they totally deserve it. But I do think it's pretty much these ones that were in and around it, wasn't it?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on then further afield. I haven't asked you what formation you're playing. I have got one defensive midfielder and two, I suppose, very attacking eights in a 4-3-3. Have Is that how you lined up similarly?
Okay. I've got a defensive midfielder. Yeah, I've got a six, but I've got two eights who are actually eights. So
Who are actually
some
okay?
difference could be coming here.
Some difference could be coming. Who's your defensive midfielder, mate?
I've gone for Moises Caicedo of Chelsea. Was quite an easy pick, this one, for me. I think he has been probably the best six in the league this season. Most tackles and interceptions in the Premier League. Top 5% in Europe's top 5 leagues for tackles and blocks. And I think a big part of why maybe he was so ingrained in my head and that I had him in this team almost instantly was because the price tag and the hype and maybe the way that he didn't make an immediate impact when he signed for Chelsea, whereas now he looks a lot more settled and he's playing a lot more like he was when he was at Brighton, really sort of starting attacks, sort of creating the tempo and being that really reliable man in there to stop any opposition attacks as well. And I think a big part of that as well has been Enzo Fernandez's sort of transition out of the squad. Really don't think those two worked well together. Lavia has come in this season for a large proportion of it, and they've looked like a really, really good partnership. And I think Caicedo has been the main man there. So yeah, for me, had to be him in the six. And who have you gone for, Mev?
So I'm matching again, mate, because I have also gone for Moises Caicedo. Like you
Yeah.
said, pretty much agree on everything you said. I think he's probably been the best defensive midfielder so far this season. And the reason why went for my Chelsea player being Caicedo and not for someone like Cole Palmer is because I think there's a fair amount of attacking talent and a few players you can play in different positions. And so I think when it comes to making a combined 11, I do think that Caicedo as the defensive midfielder, it is so crucial that in any team that defensive midfielder is, one of your best players, can do absolutely everything, can be defensively really solid, but also on the ball, be that progressive passer to break sides and start attacks. And I think Caicedo has exactly shown, like you said, why he is the British transfer record. And for me, it had to be him over the likes of Cole Palmer. And so when you think about other defensive midfielders in the league as well, I think maybe, like I said, honorable mention to maybe Ryan Gravenberch, but he's kind of more of a joint 6/8 with Alexa McAllister. I think he has been incredible so far. I think because it has been the best. You've also got no Rodri because of his injury, so therefore you can't really consider him because of the lack of minutes he's played, and he won't be in any team of the season or anything at the end of it because he just won't have played. I think also maybe shout out to Sasha Lukic. I think he's doing his best to anchor that Fulham midfield, which I do have some issues about defensively. I don't think maybe Thomas Partey could have been in there, maybe Declan Rice could have been in there, but both, like, I think because of the perception we have of Arsenal and what we thought of them going into the season, the fact that they haven't quite met their standards yet, maybe that kind of diminished the work they have done. Was there anyone else for you?
Yeah, I think Partey's a good shout. He has gone a little bit under the radar this season, especially with, I think, Rice not playing as much in the six and playing as an eight. I think sort of not seeing those sort of defensive qualities that we had from Rice as much. And I think Partey, yeah, has really stepped in this season. So that's a good shout. And yeah, normally in this squad, it probably would have been an easy pick to put Rodri in there. So yeah, good to get a few other options floating in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we move on to the more attacking midfield positions, where I do believe I've just got two number 10s. Give me one of your number 8s, Toby, the one who was more nailed on.
Yeah, mine probably more nailed on one was one who you said was an honourable mention for your six, which is Ryan Gravenberch. Got him in at the number 8, which I think is probably his more natural position. I guess sort of when Liverpool play, he does sit back sometimes, but it's the way that he carries that ball forward from deep into that 8 and really drives it forward where he is at his best. And that's exactly where he is best statistically as well. Top 8% in Europe for carries and take-ons. And on the defensive side as well, top 20% for blocks, top 10% for interceptions. Another player I think, again, sticks in your head like Caicedo, where maybe when they first signed, there wasn't really much of an immediate impact. One of those players where we know how good he can be. We know what potential he has as well because he's still so young. And this season we have seen it in all its glory. He has been exceptional. Certainly one of Liverpool's best players of the season, and for me, one of the best midfielders in the league this season. And I think what's been important is his role in that system as well, and that that trust that Slot has given him already, I think is, you can see the way that he carries the ball forward with such confidence and knows that he's not going to get caught out, particularly because there's going to be players covering like McAllister, like Van Dijk and Konate behind him. Gives him a lot more freedom, which has really, really helped him shine this season. And as a Liverpool fan, yeah, I'm sure you know all about how good he has been.
Mate, he's been absolutely exceptional, and I'll be honest, I could not have predicted this rise in form from him. I think he's maybe one of Europe's most improved players this season from last year. And I'll be honest, I have to give full credit to obviously Ryan Gravenberch for, his upturn in form and his performances, but also Arne for finding the perfect system, the perfect personnel around him, and just giving him the confidence and letting him have the keys and go, you are the main man. We don't need a six, Zubimendi didn't quite work out, but that's okay. And so, yeah, I have to give full credit to Ryan Gravenberch and Arne Slot and his coaching side for finding a solution within the squad and finding a solution who is, so far this season, arguably world class. But I decided not to go for Ryan Gravenberch personally because there was another Liverpool man which I had to get into the team. And now that we're near the end of the team and in the more forward positions, you probably have a good idea of who I went for. But I'll get to him because for me, in my advanced 8/number 10 essentially positions, I had to go for Emil Smith-Rowe at Fulham, a player who was previous to Arsenal, so Toby, you'll know all about him. But so far this season, has got 3 goals and 2 assists, and for me has been the absolute metronome for Fulham. Everything Fulham do well offensively goes through him, and for me, he's been exceptional so far this season. He's in the 99th percentile, so in the top 1% for passes completed so far this season. And for someone who plays in that attacking position, I think that is an invaluable trait. Someone who can hold on the ball and create a lot of chances as well. Someone who plays in number 10, sometimes drift out wide as well to the left, sometimes even starts out wide on the left. But I think him coming into the Fulham side has really transformed them into this kind of different beast. I was thinking at the start of the season, where was Andres Pereira going to play? Are they going to be playing together? And they kind of have, but Emil Smith-Rowe has been given the license to go forward, and Pereira sits back because of the fact that he knows the qualities that Smith-Rowe has, his ability to unlock a defence, link up play with his former Arsenal teammates and likes of Alex Iwobi. And not only that, I mean, he can play a perfect ball up front to someone like Raul Jimenez, and I think him staying fit and being good for Fulham is, what would propel them maybe into a European place this season, which I definitely didn't expect going into it.
Yeah, and that's a really good point about sort of his passes complete as well, because I think Smith-Rowe has that quality where he can drop in and carry that ball forward almost as an 8 at times as well, and he can also play off the striker, which we saw when he went on that really good goal-scoring run at the end of one of Arsenal's seasons, where I think he got 9 or 10 goals in just the back half of the season. And again, like we see for Fulham, playing off someone like Raul Jimenez, he can be that man in behind. Really, really good performance from him, and it's really good to see him as an Arsenal fan, sort of see him step into a team and lead it, as opposed to being more of a fringe player, because he certainly deserves to start for one of the better sides in the Prem. So yeah, great season for him so far. I like that shout.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, I know 3 goals into it, only 5 attacking returns. It's not necessarily as high as some of the other players that we're going to talk about, but I just wanted to say that, this is a combination of both the stats and the eye test as well. And on the eye test, he's such a great player to watch. The way he glides, I mean, the socks really low down. Maybe there's something in it, but he just looks. You would pay your money to go watch Emil Smith-Rowe, and I think he is such a phenomenal player. And I think, yeah, the stats aren't necessarily there compared to other players, but I think, in any top team, he would be absolutely fine. Almost begs the question of why Arsenal let him go.
Yeah, we certainly could have done with him when Odegaard's been injured as well. So just rub it in, Mev. It's fine.
Yeah, why not? Go on then, Tobes. Who was your other number 8 in that midfield?
Yeah, my other number 8 is another young midfield. It's a very young midfield 3 I've actually got, and it's the 20-year-old from Brighton, Baleba. He has been so good. I absolutely love watching him play, and I think the impact he's made in that Brighton midfield has been huge. Brighton lost 2 games this season. He missed one of them, and the other one he got a goal and an assist, so just shows how important he is to that side. And in the most recent win against Manchester City, that 2-1 victory, he came on at half-time and completely changed that game, made Brighton completely dominate in that second half when they were really poor in that first half, and a lot of that is down to him. And to be able to do that at such a young age, I just think shows how good he really, really is. Defensively, exceptional, top 3% for blocks, really high numbers for tackles and interceptions as well. On the ball, super high pass completion numbers and percentages, and even shots as well. When he's getting forward, he's got a really good shot on him. He's got a decent volume of shot, especially for someone who is playing deeper, almost in like a double pivot with a bit of freedom to go up to an 8 when needed. And yeah, another crazy random signing from Brighton that turns out to be a world-class player and probably going to be the next sort of Caicedo fee coming in for them if they decide to sell him, because the big clubs are keeping an eye on him, and there's a lot of reasons for why they are.
Yeah, I don't know why people just don't go straight away for who Brighton are looking at to replace their world-class stars. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous how they found yet another one. I decided not to go for Baleba. I thought that, while I thought he's done well, I think maybe he hasn't played as many minutes, not necessarily getting the start. And my player hasn't necessarily started every game or played every minute, but he has played 860, which is a decent handful. And it's someone who you might think is slightly out of position, but I think he can absolutely play that in that right attacking midfield role, and that is Dejan Kulusevski of Tottenham Hotspur. Someone like a little bit like Emil Smith Rowe, doesn't quite have the attacking numbers of some of the other players, with only 2 goals and 2 assists, 4 attacking returns so far this season. But someone who I do see as one of the more important players in the Spurs side. He can play right wing, yes, that's where he started off as, but I think him in that kind of like Martin Odegaard kind of position of the right hand side of an attacking midfield 3, someone who can really link up play. And I think what's been really impressive is that his drives from deep, his ball retention, I think he's been absolutely incredible. And I think that, he's arguably been one of Spurs' best players so far this season. I don't think he quite gets the credit he deserves, because in the side where there's also James Maddison, I actually think he's been the better creative force, and I think it's someone where Spurs players are looking towards him sometimes a little bit more than they are James Maddison. And the fact that when Maddison, while he does pick up his injury issues, he's been fit so far this season, and they've still kind of almost sometimes Ange Postecoglou decided to play Kulusevski ahead of Maddison. And for me, the one thing that really shone to me was the defensive work rate. It is there as well. 4 ball recoveries per game he averages, which is one of the highest in the whole leagues. And for someone who is a right winger, sometimes playing in midfield, I think that's an exceptional number. And someone for me who could even play a little bit deeper in that midfield. What I do want to see from his game is that sometimes his passes, I want to see them be a bit more accurate. I think they're in the mid 80s. I want to see them in the low 90s to maybe even mid 90s. Then he could be an exceptional midfield player. But I think someone who's got a perfect eye for a pass, an eye for a goal as well, got great technique, and I think it's someone who Spurs should be keeping, making sure they lock down for the next couple of years, because he could easily move to a bigger club. No offense to Spurs, but I had to go for Dejan Kulusevski because I think he's been knitting that Spurs attack so far this season. So my midfield 3 is Caicedo, Smith Rowe, and Kulusevski.
Nice, yeah, I love that Kulusevski shout. I think he has been really good, and like you said, I think especially when a winger sort of moves into midfield and they're not racking up goals and assists, it's quite easy to forget about them and to not really notice all the amazing work that they're doing. He's playing almost that Bernardo Silva role for Spurs that Silva does for City, where someone who's probably more naturally a winger, playing inside, doing a lot of the dirty work as well and getting those defensive numbers in. He has been really, really good. Yeah, like that shout a lot.
Yeah, I think my midfield 3 is definitely a lot more attacking than your midfield 3.
Yeah, we'll be parking the bus, my team, by the looks of it.
Yeah, and we'll be trying to break you down. I know you'll be hitting us on the counter-attack, but who will you be hitting us on the counter-attack with, mate? I don't know. Your choice. Do you want to go left wing or right wing first?
Let's go right wing, because I think it is probably the more obvious pick of the two. And as I've used Gravenberch, I can't use Mo Salah, so I have gone for the bald Mo Salah in Mbeumo. What a player, what a season. Again, he is having 8 goals and 1 assist, and those 8 goals coming from an XG of just 3.9, the biggest overperformance of XG in the league. Lethal finisher, some really nice goals this season, and again, just really leading that line for Brentford, a team where there were a lot of question marks with Ivan Toney with his suspension, and then leaving the club to Saudi Arabia. And honestly, you wouldn't have even noticed the way that they're going forward and playing at times. Even creatively as well, he's in the top 20 in the league for shot creating actions on 41. He's got 5 goal creating actions as well, and almost 3 expected assists. So yeah, scoring more than he should, and probably should have more assists than he does based on other people's finishing as well. So yeah, top player and a top season so far.
Yeah, mate, I don't disagree with your shout of putting Mbeumo in whatsoever. He was someone who was in an earlier iteration of my draft, But like I said right at the beginning, I had to change it a little bit because there was one player I could not leave out, and that is, of course, Mohamed Salah, someone who's got 9 goals and 10 assists in the Champions League so far, in all competitions so far this season, sorry, and then 8 goals and 6 assists in the Premier League, 14 goal returns so far, just from 11 games, and someone who, I think I've mentioned it before, and I'll use the phrase again, but we've become desensitized to how great he actually is, just because we expect it week in, week out. We captain him weekly on the fantasy football, and we just expect him to get goals and assists regardless of the opposition. He's not just a flat trick bully, he does it in the big games as well. Scored against Chelsea, scored against Arsenal, and scored against Villa as well for us. And so he's done it against literally everyone, 7th consecutive season now. I think chasing down Thierry Henry in the all-time Premier League top goal scorers list, one of the Premier League greats. It's hard to leave him out of the side, and I was even thinking about doing it. I was thinking about, like, maybe I could include Trent Alexander-Arnold, Ibrahim Konate, Ryan Gravenberch. But when I just thought about the player that you want in that kind of situation, one-on-one in goal, and it's not only just his goal scoring, but it's also his creativity now. Maybe a full player as you get older, maybe if you take example Cristiano Ronaldo, he's become more about his goal scoring and he's all about the goals now, and moving more into a central position. Mo Salah, as he's getting supposedly older at the age of 32, he's been adopting positions more wider, becoming more creative, and even running more. His dribble numbers are up from all his previous seasons at Liverpool, but just goes to show that, despite 32 and talks about, I know, is the age and should Liverpool give him a new contract, his numbers back it up that he is still as good as he's ever been, potentially even better. And so I had to include Mohamed Salah because it just felt criminal not to, if I'm being honest. So no knock to Bryan Mbeumo. I had him in one of my drafts. You can't beat the best winger in world football at the moment, can you?
Yeah, I mean, like you said with Salah, it feels like him and Kane, because we're of this generation and sort of watching it at the moment. I don't think you can realise how good they are, and I think with Kane moving to Bayern, I think a lot of people have seen how amazing he is, and because Salah, I think, has been in this Liverpool side now for a number of years, is sort of consistently getting good numbers. You don't really think about it. And I think once he's moved on or once he's retired, and then you look back and look at his numbers, look at the impact he's had on the league, on Liverpool, what he's done, as you said, he is one of the best wingers in Premier League history, no doubt, and is still carrying it on now into the new slot era.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so thankful. And I tweet about it after every Liverpool game. But Liverpool, what are you doing? Just give the man a new contract. He absolutely deserves it. Let him put down whatever salary he wants. Let him put down however many years he wants. He thoroughly deserves it. And Liverpool will be a far worse team without Mohamed Salah in it. But not only that, his leadership traits as well. He's part of the leadership group. He's literally got everything. And I don't know what else you want. Should we then move on to left wing? Because I think we are likely to disagree on the left wing position because there's no real standout player, was there?
Yeah, this was another one where it was either considering shoehorning a right winger in there, but it just didn't feel quite right. And I have gone for a bit of a rogue one, and I wanted to get a Fulham player in here, and I have gone for Alex Iwobi, who I think has been incredibly underrated this season. I haven't heard anyone talking about him. 2 goals, 2 assists, and his creative numbers have been exceptional this year. He's 7th in the league for shot creating actions on 46, which is the same as Mo Salah. 5 goal creating actions, which is the same as Mbeumo, as mentioned previously. He's got 22 key passes, more than Salah, Son, and Mbeumo, and he sits on 5th in the league for expected assists as well. Top 8% in Europe for progressive passes, which is 4th in the Prem on 73 as well. So creatively, possession passing, he has been really, really good out on that left-hand side. As you said, I think the combination he has with Smith Rowe as well, where if Smith Rowe is drifting out to the left, we can see Iwobi sort of drift in quite naturally. He can play a number of positions across that sort of midfield 3. Really, really rate him. And I think even last season, he wasn't starting every game, but you could see the impact he had when he was. And this season, he's really been given that left wing role is now his at Fulham. And I think, yeah, for me, definitely one of Fulham's best players. And I think maybe with the lack of other left wingers in the league, for me, yeah, one of the best left wingers in the league so far this season. Yeah,
absolutely love the shout. Just because he doesn't necessarily have the goal output that some of the other, best wingers in the league have, that I think some people, when we look at him, then maybe, like I did, focus on like Smith Rowe. Oh, look at Adama Traore is having a resurgence again. Raul Jimenez is having a little bit of resurgence. Look how fun Fulham are. But they won't mention Alex Iwobi just because he's not quite getting the numbers, and he's a bit of a known quantity. He's not doing anything that we don't think that he can do. But just because he's doing it, that doesn't mean he doesn't deserve his flowers. So yeah. Absolutely love that shout.
And I just wanted to say as well with Iwobi, he absolutely loves a nutmeg. And for me, that is one of the best things in football. So, yeah, got to throw that in as well. No stats for it, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, tell me you're a forward player without telling me you're a forward player. Yeah, here I am looking at the defenders like, oh, how many tackles and interceptions has he got? Yeah, good lad. So, right before you talked about Alex Iwobi, you talked about not shoehorning a right winger at left wing. And so I have kind of done that. Although my player has played occasionally on the left wing, he's predominantly played on the right, but he has shown he can play on the left wing. And someone who I think people are cluing up to be him being a really good player and potentially one that, bigger clubs will be looking at. And that is Antoine Semenyo of Bournemouth. Someone who's got 4 goals and 1 assist so far this season. But I actually wanted to start off with his defensive stats because he's in the top 1% for blocks, top 1% for aerials won, and top 7% for clearances of all attacking midfielders and wide forwards. And I think that just goes to show that Areola and Semenyo, I think the Bournemouth side are really, really good defending, and they defend from the front, and when they need to, the wide players get back as well, and Semenyo does that. But not only that, going forward, he is such a handful. He's skillful, but he's also incredibly physical, and he's got different ways of scoring. He's got literally every type of finish in his locker, left foot, right foot, and the header as well. And not only that, I just think that when you lose someone like Dominic Solanke, Evan Nilsson has stepped up to the plate and done incredibly well, 4 goals already. But then it really helps out the new striker when the rest of your teammates are in rich vein of form and doing really, really well. And for me, Semenyo is exactly that. Someone who I've been watching ever since he came to Bristol City, which is obviously not kind of my local rival, because my local is Bristol Rovers, but just someone who I've been keeping an eye on because I thought he's an incredibly talented player. And now I'm so glad he's showing it in the Premier League in front of the whole world, and someone who has got levels to go, and he's still very, very young.
Yeah, Semenyo has been really great. He had some really good sparks, I think, last season, but maybe didn't do it for the whole season, and his output wasn't particularly good. I think they were a little bit reliant on Solanke last year, 4 goals, and it feels like this season Semenyo has really, really stepped up. Love watching him play, really exciting, really direct player, and a great shout. And I think Bournemouth, having a good season themselves, so definitely warrant a player in that starting 11 too.
Nice. Then that only leaves us the centre forward, and since neither of us have picked a Man City player yet, I'm assuming we've both gone for Erling Haaland. Am I right, Tobes?
Yeah, it's boring, isn't it? 12 goals.
Give me Chris Wood.
Yeah, I was close, but yeah, Chris Wood with 8 goals, and it's just an extra 4. It's just more goals. That's what the striker's there for, isn't it? And yeah, he's the best striker in the world, so it's just kind of boring.
Yeah, it is boring, but yeah, I was thinking about him, I was thinking about Welbeck, there was a couple others, but I just thought that, despite the fact that a bit like Mo Salah, we expect greatness from them, just because they are delivering greatness. We might want to look at other players who are maybe overperforming or in a rich vein of form, but you have to give credit to the best centre forward in the league, definitely, and arguably world football as well, and that is Erling Haaland, and you do have to give him his flowers. I mean, 12 goals scored in the Premier League from an XG of 11, so overperforming in that, and especially when you consider the fact that in the last few game weeks he probably hasn't scored as many goals as he should have. He could be on easily 15 at least, and that's frightening really from 11 games. He's probably thinking of breaking his own record of the most goals in a single Premier League season. I think he's an absolute phenomenon, and it is boring. It's not fun to talk about from a content perspective necessarily, but he deserves it. So, let's give him his flowers.
Yeah, and it's difficult with him because it's City obviously haven't played well in the last few weeks, but he still scored against Brighton, still scored in their 1-0 win against Southampton, where it was only a 1-0 win against Southampton. But yeah, just ridiculously good. And 12 goals in 11 games so far this season. So if he carries on the rate that he is, he will break his record, which is crazy to feel like he hasn't been talked about as much maybe this season, even though he's on pace to beat it. So yeah, I'm sure when he gets his next hat-trick, the hype will come back.
Yeah, and this is, like I said, we're talking about him not having a great last 3 or 4 games where he really scored a couple of goals. But then you think about, he scored only one against Southampton, but he could have had a hat trick. He only scored one against Brighton, but he also could have had a hat trick. And it's just, he is an absolute phenomenon. And obviously the best striker in the league, and so has to go into our teams. Should we just give us a quick run through, Tobes, of what your team was?
Yeah, so I've got Pope in goal, Mazraoui, Murillo, Gabriel, and Ait-Nouri is my back four. Baleba, Caicedo, and Gravenberch in midfield, and Buemo, Haaland, and Iwobi as my front three.
Lovely. And I have gone for Nick Pope as well in goal, a back four of Mazraoui, Milenkovic, Gabriel, and Luca Digne, with a midfield three of Moise Caicedo, Emil Smith-Rowe, and Dejan Kulusevski, and a front three of Mohamed Salah, Antoine Semenyo on the left, and then Erling Haaland up front. Who are you going to give your manager of the season so far to?
I think it would have to be Arne Slot. I think the pressure that he came in under, I think a lot of people saying, Liverpool are going to drop off, Liverpool are going to do this, blah, blah, blah. He's come in, they've been exceptional in the Premier League, sitting top of the league, and deservedly so. They've been exceptional in the Champions League, sitting top of that, and deservedly so. He has changed things as well. It's not like he's just come in and carried on Klopp's work. He has changed the system, changed the way that Liverpool play, and changed the way that certain players play as well. And certain players have really, really stepped up, like Gravenberch, like we were saying. And I think a lot of that is down to Slot. So for me, quite an easy pick to go for him. A few honourable mentions for Marco Silva. Hertzler at Brighton, I think, was in a similar position where he's come in and changed a few things around and done really well. And obviously Espirito Santo as well. So yeah, those three honourable mentions, but for me, Slot for sure. How about you?
Yeah, I just want to give a couple more honourable mentions because I think Areola Bournemouth, obviously losing Solanke, then getting Evan Nielsen. I'd also want to say Enzo Maresca Chelsea. A lot of people were ruling them out at the start of the season, saying, they got no chance in hell. I mean, Maresca just one season in the Championship, and now arguably one of the favourites outside Liverpool, Man City, and Arsenal for the top four, maybe even the favourites for that fourth spot. So credit to him, and credit to the way he's handled everything, because I think he has been class, but he's also been ruthless when needed to, and I think that's exactly what Chelsea have needed. But I will go for Arne Slot at the top of the Premier League table with Liverpool. I do think that no Liverpool fan, every Liverpool fan dreamed of being in this position, but no one really expected it. And the fact that they are, and the fact that there's a world where Liverpool beat Southampton on the weekend after the international break, and then they have Man City the weekend after at Anfield. If they win those 2 games, Liverpool could be 9 points ahead of Arsenal, 8 points ahead of Man City with 13 games on the board. No one, absolutely no one in the world would have told you Liverpool would be in that position or have the potential to be in that position going into the season. So yeah, absolutely has to be on a slot, and plus all the other factors you said. So we've got 9 teams left, and we're going to try and fill out our bench quickly. Who have you gone for in goal?
I've gone for Dean Henderson of Crystal Palace.
Oh, not a great season at all for Crystal Palace. I went for Aaron Ramsdale at Southampton because I think he's been keeping teams in it. Who are your defensive reinforcements?
So I have gone for Max Kilman of West Ham. Mm-hmm. I think he stepped in and done a pretty good job. And Harwood Bellis of Southampton, probably one of their best performers for me this season.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. I do like them both. I've gone for centre-back cover of Mark Gay at Crystal Palace. Again, just no one at Crystal Palace has really done well. Left-back cover of someone you chose in your team of Ryan Ait-Nouri. And I went for both right-back and defensive midfield cover of Jack Hinterwood at Brighton. Just because I think Brighton as a whole, there's so many players who deserve credit. But in terms of what I needed for my bench, I thought, I'll go for Brighton player Jack Hinterwood. What about your midfielders?
Yeah, I've got a decent amount of midfielders. Mm-hmm. I've gone for Buonanotte of Leicester. I think he's looked really good. Dwight McNeil on sort of a wide midfield role has been Everton's best player for me this season. And a player that also you went in for your squad, which was Dejan Kulusevski of Spurs. Quite unlucky to not get in the starting 11. Definitely my strongest bench player there.
Yeah, great shout. So I agree with you on Dwight McNeil for Everton's best player so far. I think hands down. In terms of midfielders, I've gone for Vitaly Janelt of Brentford, someone who, I feel really bad not including Mbeumo or Wissa, but I just think that in terms of what great work they do. I think there's a lot of great work that goes behind them as well. So I went for Jan there. And another one of my midfielders was Wilfred Ndidi at Leicester, who's someone who's playing more in that attacking 10 position, but someone who I would probably use as a box-to-box in my squad, as someone who's already got 4 assists this season. And then I've only got 2 forwards left. How many have you got left?
I've got 3 left. Who have you gone for as your 2?
So I've gone for Jared Bowen at West Ham, just because I think he's been the best out of a bad bunch, and I think his performances in the cup competitions now for England has been exceptional. Obviously, Dwight can play there in my squad as well. And then up front, debutising for Erling Haaland is the former Man City striker Liam Delap of Ipswich Town. What about you?
Nice. Yep, I've also got Liam Delap up front, leading the line, 6 goals. Looked really, really good. Looks like a great young player. And just behind them, I've got Semenyo, same as you, from Bournemouth. Nice little option off the bench. And I've also gone from Rodgers for Villa, who I think has been really, really great. And like you said with Smith Rowe, Rodgers feels like one of those players who, on the eye, just so satisfying to watch him when he's bursting forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Morgan Rodgers, I think I read today that he's either going to or has signed a new contract at Villa till 2030. So, yeah, nice work by Aston Villa, keeping hold of one of their best players and hopefully one of the future superstars if his form continues. But there we go. Those were our teams of the season so far. Let's move on then to the quiz. And Toby, what are the scores on the board?
The scores on the doors after 10 rounds of Guess the Club is 23 points to you and 24 points to me. So it is very, very close.
Yes, absolutely. And I don't know when we're going to stop, but we're just going to keep on going until we had enough, basically. Or unless anyone in the comments below wants to let us know about trying something new. But yeah, guess the club based on the players that have previously played for them. Who would you like to go first, or would you like to go second, Toby, as the leading player?
Yeah, let's go first this week. Let's go. I'm feeling ready.
Feeling ready. Well, okay. The first player is Chris Wood.
Chris Wood. Oh, I saw him playing for someone the other day, and I saw a video of it, and I was like, I had no idea he played for them. Obviously Newcastle and Forest. Oh, who was it? That's so annoying. I hate that so much because I'm pretty. He did Leicester as well, but I think that's quite an obvious one. I can't think of it. Maybe the next players will help ring a bell. So I'll just go for Leicester.
It is not Leicester, but that is not a bad shout. He did play there. He's played for 13 different clubs, Chris Wood, in his career.
Oh, okay. I don't feel too bad then.
No, that's what I went for him first because there's a whole plethora there. But maybe this will help you out. Your second player for 4 points is Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank.
Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. Oh.
Maybe it won't help you.
Obviously done Chelsea. Pretty sure Middlesbrough. I think he maybe did like a Coventry or Huddersfield, someone like that in blue, or maybe a Birmingham City, something like that is in the back of my head somewhere. But I'll go for Middlesbrough.
It is not Middlesbrough, but I do believe he played there. That's a pretty decent shout. It's not him though. Your third player for 3 points is Charlie Taylor.
Oh, that is no help at all for me. I honestly can't even think who that is. He sounds like a left back. Like I have no idea.
I can tell you he is an English left back who currently plays for Southampton.
Yeah, this is going to be a big punt. Who was that Chris Wood one that maybe Jimmy Floyd was at as well? No, I can't think. Let's go for a blue and white team. Let's go for Wigan.
It is not Wigan, unfortunately. I'm surprised you don't know Charlie Taylor. He's a current Premier League player. Anyway, your fourth player for 2 points is Lewis Cook.
Lewis Cook. Oh, he's at Bournemouth now, but I feel like, again, that's all I know. Lewis Cook. No, I'm thinking of Jack. I was going to say Swansea, but that was Jack Cork, I'm pretty sure.
Lewis Cook has only ever played for 2 clubs in his entire career.
Oh my God, it's going to be the one that's not Bournemouth, isn't it? For God's sake. Nah, this is going to be a 1-pointer, if even that. Portsmouth?
It is not Portsmouth, I'm afraid.
No.
This club is a bit more north than Portsmouth because your last player for 1 point is Stuart Dallas.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't. I could have got that for Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. Yeah. Leeds.
It is Leeds for 1 point. Well done, mate.
Damn. Yeah, I should have remembered that for Jimmy Floyd, and that maybe would have helped imagining Chris Wood in a Leeds kit. Yeah, a 1-pointer. Poor from me.
No, that's all right. Well, Chris Wood was at Leeds between 2015 and 2017. Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank was at Leeds between 97 and 99, between Boa Vista and Atletico Madrid. So that is quite a career path there. Charlie Taylor,
Nice.
the English left back who played for Southampton, previously played for Burnley. Maybe that's if you imagine him in Burnley shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about him last season as maybe Vincent Kompany should have played him a left back because they're having some issues there in that position. But he was at Leeds between 2011 and 2017. Lewis Cook, he started his career at Leeds United when he was there between 2014 and 2016 before moving to Bournemouth, which is obviously where most people know him from, and Sir Dallas, who was obviously there between 2015 and 2024 before he unfortunately had to retire. But yeah, 1 point, not bad, not bad.
It's poor. I'm disappointed, but I don't know if this one's difficult or not. So we'll see. We'll see how we go.
That's it.
Yeah. You ready?
Yep.
So your first player for 5 points is Ethan Ampadu.
Ethan Ampadu. Oh my god, a player who I was looking at for my Leeds thing. Oh my god, where's he played? Chelsea. He's at Leeds at the moment. I think he was at Cardiff because he's Welsh, and I think he's made that. Oh, he was in some teams abroad. He's probably a Vitesse, now in Chelsea. Oh, he might have been in the Bundesliga as well. Which name am I going to say? I don't know idea who you're going to say next. I'm going to say Chelsea.
It is not Chelsea.
Oh, okay.
Your second player for 4 points is Justin Kluivert.
Justin Kluivert, not. What's his dad's name?
Not Patrick, no.
Yeah,
no.
because you gave me Patrick.
The one who is a current player.
Yeah, you gave me Patrick like the other day or something. So.
Oh, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, which one's which? So he's at Bournemouth at the moment. I'm pretty sure he was at Milan. Oh, he's Dutch. He's been around. I'm pretty sure he's at Ajax, but I don't think Ampadu was at Ajax. But is there a Dutch side? Maybe they're both at. Ampadu was on loan. What are the Dutch clubs out of this? Feyenoord? No. PSV? I'm going to say PSV.
It is not PSV, unfortunately, for the Dutch punt. But your third player for 3 points is Matheus Cunha.
Matheus Cunha.
Very close to getting into my team of the season.
Yeah.
On the bench.
Did really well.
Great player. I like him a lot.
Matheus Cunha was at Wolves before. Yeah, he's at Wolves. Was at Atletico Madrid before, where they signed him from. Oh, probably some Brazilian side, which I'm not going to get. But it's that side just before Atletico Madrid, where I bet he started his career. Oh, was he in Germany? He was in Germany. Kluivert might have been in Germany. Oh, it was a team in blue. Oh no, the team in blue in Germany. I remember him from FIFA. Matheus Cunha was in Germany. How long have Schalke been down for a while? You've got Hertha Berlin. Crap. I'm going to. Hang on. There's also Hamburg. No, Hamburg and Green. There's Hanover. Crap.
What are you going for?
Hertha Berlin.
It is not Hertha Berlin.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure Cunha did play for Hertha Berlin, I think. Your fourth player for 2 points is Tyler Adams.
Tyler Adams. Currently of Bournemouth, but has played for Leeds. He was in the MLS. Was he in Germany or was he in Serie A? Oh, he was in Serie A, wasn't he? No. Did he come through? So Jesse Marsh bought him. So was he in the Leipzig model? Could I please go for... I have no clue. I have no clue. Can I please go for RB Leipzig?
You may go for RB Leipzig, and you may be correct. Well
Oh,
done. Great shout, mate, for 2 points.
Jesus.
That is a very nice answer. Yeah, Ampadu was there on loan, as was Kluivert. Mateus Cunha was also there, which is, yeah, I had no idea, but
No.
he played a decent number of games for them. Yeah, I think maybe before Hertha Berlin.
Okay.
Tyler Adams played, there for a couple seasons, and your last player would have been Christopher Nkunku.
Oh my God. Would I have got Nkunku? Yeah, I think I wouldn't have gone.
Yeah, you definitely would have got that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have gone Chelsea. Yeah.
That was. I thought that was a pretty tough list, to be fair. I thought maybe it was a bit too harsh when I was giving it to you, but 2 points, that's a great score for that, I would say.
Mate, I will absolutely take that. And does that mean we're level?
Yeah, 25-25.
Yeah, well, at some point we'll have a
It's
decider.
huge.
Maybe around Christmas we'll have a decider and then we'll restart in the new year. Something like that. Well, that's it for this week's episode of the podcast. Thank you everyone for joining us. If you enjoyed it, please give us a like and tell your friends all about us. We're going to be here every week between now and the foreseeable future. Have fingers crossed. But yeah, thanks for watching and we'll see you in the next one.